In Saint Seiya, knights achieve feats that break logic and nature's laws. This is due to manipulating the cosmos, an inner energy beyond normal human abilities. But what if we tried to apply Earth's physics to these phenomena? We realize how powerful these warriors would really be and what would happen to an ordinary body. Hello, Amazons and Knights. Welcome to Semperquis Saber. I'm Wes, and today we're going to talk about the powers of the Bronze Knights and their true strength in the real world. Which would be the most destructive? Leave your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into this awesome video. Curiosity number 1. Absolute zero and molecular destruction. Absolute zero is the lowest theoretical temperature possible in the universe. It's the state where the particles, atoms, and molecules of a body would have the lowest possible movement energy, almost coming to a complete stop. This is actually well explained in Knights of the Zodiac, where the warriors who control freezing air reach the peak of their power by awakening absolute zero in battle. Temperature measures the average movement of molecules in a body. The more they move, the higher the temperature. At absolute zero, this movement stops. The third law of thermodynamics means we can't reach absolute zero, but we can get very close. Quantum phenomena like superfluidity, which is liquids without viscosity, and superconductivity, which is electricity without resistance, appear at extremely low temperatures. Just like in Bose-Einstein condensates, which is a phase of matter formed by bosons, there is a temperature very close to absolute zero in the universe of Saint Seiya. The Swan Knight, Hyoga, and his masters, the Crystal Knight and Camus of Aquarius, control the freezing air. In the classic series, the Knight Camus of Aquarius can create cold nearly at absolute zero. However, his disciple Hyoga of Swan managed to surpass him in the Battle of the 12 Houses, thus reaching absolute zero, freezing both Camus and his golden armor. Just like in the anime, if an ordinary human body were subjected to absolute zero in real life, death would be instant and catastrophic. The human body is a complex system of chemical reactions. Extreme cold would interrupt all the reactions necessary for life, stopping metabolism instantly. The water, which makes up most of our body, both inside and outside the cells, would freeze. This would form sharp ice crystals which would rupture cellular structures, including muscles, blood vessels, and organs. It would feel like being ripped apart from inside. At microscopic level, the skin, blood, and organs would freeze completely, making the body extremely fragile and bluish. That's pretty much what happens when Hyoga freezes. The Knight of the Crown of the Sun, Berenguer of Coma Berenices. He simply shatters into fragments after being completely frozen. On a molecular level, if the body's molecules stop moving so quickly, the body would instantly cease to exist as life, causing immediate death. That would be the power of Hyoga of Swan in the real world. Something similar to what happens in the Knight story, but on a much more impressive level. Curiosity number 2. The reversal of the Rozan Waterfall. The ability of Shiryu, the dragon, to reverse the flow of the Rozan waterfall with his attack, the Dragon's Fury. It's one of the most visually impressive feats in Saint Seiya. And in real-world physics, this would require the application of colossal force and an almost impossible mastery over fluid dynamics. Reversing the flow of a waterfall isn't just about pushing the water upwards, it's about completely canceling out the most dominant and constant force on our planet, which is gravity. The water is in free fall, constantly accelerating with gravity. For the water to stop falling and start rising, Shiryu would have to apply an upward vertical force, an impulsive force greater than the total weight of the mass of water that is falling at every moment. Let's consider a medium-sized waterfall if the flow rate is, for example, 100 cubic meters per second. Since 1 cubic meter of water weighs about 1,000 kilograms, the mass falling each second is 100,000 kilograms. To reverse that mass, he'd need to instantly apply a force generating immense power. The power needed would match a large hydroelectric plant's output, but delivered all at once. In reality, Shiryu's blow would have to cancel out the potential energy and kinetic energy of the water, and then provide extra kinetic energy to force it upward. The blow is a burst of energy that negates gravity. Locally, Shiryu's blow doesn't just push the water, It must interact with the surface of the water. Shiryu's dragon's rage would have to be so fast and powerful that it would create a hypersonic shockwave in the air. When that wave hit the surface of the water, it would transfer the energy of the blow to the liquid. The reversal of the waterfall is the result of a massive impulse. Impulse is the change in linear momentum and is equal to force multiplied by time. Because the blow is instant, the force must be astronomical. The cosmos lets Shiryu generate an impulse force, which, in terms of power, is equivalent to detonating a mini-nuclear bomb at the bottom of the river or having the strength of a great tsunami acting upwards, overcoming gravity and the weight of the falling water. It's a demonstration of pure strength that defies the fundamental laws of physics. Curiosity number 3. The Meteors of Destruction. The Pegasus Meteor is Seiya's main attack and shows the Bronze Knight's mastery of Mach 1 speed. Real physics shows this move isn't just rapid punches, but a machine of kinetic annihilation. Seiya throws 100 punches per second at the speed of sound, 1,235 kilometers per hour. This means that for his fist to go from 0 to the speed of sound in an instant, Seiya has to generate a monstrous acceleration. His body needs to withstand more than 3,500 times the force of gravity. That would turn an ordinary human into crushed jelly. That's why the cosmos isn't just strength. It also needs to be a shield of resistance, preventing Seiya from self-destructing from the inside before throwing the punch. Seiya's punch is like a cannon shot. The impact energy of an object increases wildly with speed. A single punch from Seiya has the same impact energy as a heavy artillery shell. Now multiply that force by 100 punches in a single second. The total impact on the opponent is like the release of energy from a bomb. Pegasus's meteor releases energy equal to 2 kilograms of TNT detonated on the enemy's body. Thus, the target would be instantly disintegrated by the shock force. Curiosity number 4, Phoenix's flame attack. The Phoenix's flight, or the Phoenix bird, is Ikki's most powerful technique, where he creates a blast of flaming air and attacks with the image of the blazing phoenix. It's an intriguing challenge for physics and chemistry. For this to be possible in the real world, it would require a combination of aerodynamics, extreme thermodynamics, and manipulation of combustion chemistry. Ikki creates a furious blast of flaming air by first using his palms to expel air, requiring both physical and chemical steps at an incredible speed and force. But with the added focus on thermal energy, by accelerating the air to hypersonic speeds above Mach 5, the air is violently compressed in front of the blast, and the rapid compression of a gas causes a drastic increase in its temperature. If the one who removes the team evasion gas was manipulating it, he would turn it into plasma or superheated air. But it still wouldn't be a flame. To have a flame, which is fire, physics requires 3 elements. The famous fire triangle, heat, which we just generated, oxygen present in the air, and fuel. Ikki's attack suggests that his Cosmo not only generates heat, but also mirrors or vaporizes a combustible substance through the Phoenix armor. This fuel could be some kind of hydrocarbon gas and extremely volatile, like methane or propane, but much more powerful, acting as a catalyst. When the superheated air hits the cloud of volatile fuel in the presence of oxygen, a chemical combustion reaction occurs, creating visible flames and the burst of fire that throws the enemy into the air. The Flaming Phoenix's final move uses projection to launch the enemy high into the air. With a devastating kinetic and thermal blow, the enemy is first thrown by the force of the fire blast. The energy from the expelled gas must be enough to overcome the opponent's weight and armor resistance, giving an extremely high initial vertical speed. The massive impulsive force causes acceleration trauma and severe burns. The deadliest part of this attack, if the flames were real, would be the heat transfer. The temperature of Ikki's fire, probably thousands of degrees Celsius, would cause instant vaporization of bodily fluids, cellular destruction, and the melting of common metals. It would cause instant incineration, then destruction from the explosion and impact. In summary, to perform this move, Ikki would be manipulating the state of matter, turning air into energy and fuel, then focusing it to create a thermobaric bomb aimed at the opponent. Fun fact number 5. Shun's Nebula Storm. The Nebula Storm is a manifestation of power that deals directly with fluid mechanics, the study of how liquids and gases behave, turning calm air into a destructive force. The core of the move is the expulsion of powerful air jets, generating a violent pressure difference that culminates in a concentrated storm. To understand the power of the Nebula storm, we need to analyze how Shun generates this wind with pressure difference to create a concentrated storm. Out of nowhere, Shun must be able to expel the air around him at supersonic or even hypersonic speeds. Far beyond Mach 5, the energy, which is the cosmo, is used to compress and accelerate the air molecules. The acceleration of this air creates an extremely low-pressure zone at the center of the storm, similar to the eye of a hurricane, and a very high-pressure zone at the edges of the air jets. The victim is thrown into the air by the lift force created by this pressure difference, but in an extremely violent way. The upward force is so much greater than gravity that the victim is launched like a missile. By spreading the jets throughout the area, Shun creates massive turbulence. The victim is not only lifted, but also torn apart by the air's shearing forces. At extremely high speeds, the human body is subjected to such intense drag pressure that it can cause severe internal bleeding, tissue rupture, and dismemberment. The violent wind drags debris, dirt, and even rocks, turning them into high-speed projectiles. The opponent would be struck by a rain of micro-meteorites coming from the ground. The second form is the most destructive, focusing all energy into a destructive funnel that increases power per area. Focusing the energy at one point greatly increases the dynamic pressure. The initial impact of the concentrated storm would act like a hypersonic shockwave, causing extreme barotrauma, which is internal damage caused by pressure, crushing the opponent's armor and body even before they're thrown. The third form, the defensive barrier, can be explained by a concept of low-pressure force fields. Bernoulli's principle states that an increase in the speed of a fluid occurs simultaneously with a decrease in potential pressure or potential energy. Shun creates a layer of air that moves at an absurdly high speed around himself. This high airspeed creates a very low-pressure zone on the surface of his barrier. When an enemy attack, such as a projectile or a punch, hits this low-pressure barrier, it is instantly deflected to the higher pressure zone outside the barrier. The normal environment cancels the attack's trajectory and increase. This is an aerodynamic deflection field that causes attacks to be blown away. Curiosity number 6. The speed of sound and light. How the knights are classified by their maximum attack and movement speed. The Bronze Knights reach the speed of sound, Mach 1, approximately 343 meters per second, or 1,235 kilometers per hour. The Silver Knights reach speeds between Mach 2 and Mach 5, which is between 2 and 5 times faster than the Bronze Knights. The Gold Knights reach the speed of light, which is approximately 299,792,458 meters per second. That's almost 1,000,000 times faster than the Silver and Bronze Knights. That's the difference in power between the Gold Knights and you, Bronze Knight. When you strike at the speed of sound, it creates a massive shockwave. In the real world, when an object like an airplane breaks the sound barrier, it creates a huge pressure wave, or sonic boom. If a fist hit a human body at Mach 1, the impact wouldn't just be the force of the fist, but the combination of the shockwave and the massive kinetic energy. The kinetic energy transferred to the body would be exponentially greater than a normal punch, instantly pulverizing bones and tissues. At the point of impact, the body would be hit by a pressure wave, which could rupture internal organs and eardrums, even before the physical contact of the fist due to the compression of the air. But reaching the speed of light is the great feat of the Gold Knights. And that's where Albert Einstein's theory of special relativity comes into play. According to Einstein, the speed of light in a vacuum is the universal speed limit that only massless particles, like photons, can reach. If a body with mass, like a knight's fist, tried to reach the speed of light, the consequences would be as follows. As an object with mass approaches that speed, its inertial mass and its kinetic energy tend toward infinity. Accelerating would require infinite energy, which is impossible. If possible, time for the night relative to an observer on Earth would slow until it stopped, making the night see the outside universe as motionless. Considering the pure kinetic energy of an attack at the speed of light, the only attack would be the conversion of a small amount of mass into unimaginable energy, similar to the release of energy in an atomic bomb. but on a much more concentrated scale. A blow at the speed of light would instantly pulverize a human body, disintegrating it into its constituent atoms and vaporizing the surrounding area. The impact would be as close as possible to the annihilation of matter. In reality, the Gold Knights would be gods among humans. The impact would be even more catastrophic if two of them faced each other, and a 1,000-day war could devastate an entire region in the blink of an eye. Curiosity 7. The true power of the cosmos. The Knight's main ability is burning the cosmos, described as atoms exploding and increasing internal energy. This is what distinguishes a Knight from others. To reach supersonic and light speeds, the Knights would have to withstand a gigantic acceleration, which would generate a gravitational force unbearable for an ordinary human. Ordinary humans can withstand 5 times gravity, while trained fighter pilots can withstand up to 9 times gravity for short periods. And above that, there's a risk of fainting, lack of blood flow to the brain and death, crushing of internal organs, and circulatory damage. If a Knight went from 0 to Mach 1 in a fraction of a second, the acceleration would be fatal. That's why in Saint Seiya, the cosmos boosts both attack power and strengthens the body and armor. To withstand these extreme gravitational forces, as well as kinetic and thermal damage, they not only launch attacks, but also move their bodies at these absurd speeds, which would require absolute control over the forces acting on them. The cosmos would be the physical key to nullifying or resisting these lethal accelerations, allowing the circulatory system and internal organs to remain intact. Curiosity 8. Armor chemistry. Once we understand the Knight's powers, we see that the cosmos and armor are vital for survival and resistance. Gold armors are considered indestructible, only damaged by another Gold Knight or someone stronger. In chemistry, this suggests a material with extremely strong atomic bonds and a very high melting point. Maybe a superconducting metal alloy or an exotic quantum material that behaves differently under high energy. Maybe similar to what happens at low temperatures, superconductivity, but applied to structural strength. The Knights of the Zodiac exist in a universe where the physics and chemistry of relativity and thermodynamics are not just challenged, but bent by willpower and the energy of the cosmos. The interplay between the fantastic and scientific makes the universe of Saint Seiya so fascinating. Did you like the video and facts? Comment below so I can know. Do the Gold Knights and their main techniques also deserve a video like this? Let me know in the comments. And of course, thank you for watching this video until the end, and see you next time. Burn your cosmos to infinity.